You ever have one of those mornings where you can just feel in your bones something's about to go sideways? That was me standing in the Texas dirt with cedar in the air and dust sticking to my coffee mug, thinking I'd get an hour to patch my fence in peace. No such luck. I hear this engine crawling up my gravel drive slow like it's got something to prove or someone to intimidate. Now, out here, folks don't show up unannounced unless they're lost a bet, or just plain dumb. But there it was, a silver Mercedes G-Wagon, blacked out windows gleaming like it had never seen a dirt road in its life. That car crested my ridge like it owned the place. I set my coffee down, wiped my hands on my jeans, and leaned back against a fence post, just waiting. 3 people stepped out, 2 guys in navy blazers, and a woman whose heels looked like they'd dissolve in manure. She strutted up like she was running for mayor, all smiles. Mr. Drake, she calls Chipper, as a morning news anchor. Karen Schilling, president of Willow Ridge Preserve Homeowners Association. Mind if we have a word? I didn't budge. Whatever you're selling, I'm not buying. She just laughed like I was being cute. We're not selling, we're offering. My group of investors is looking to expand our beautiful Willow Ridge Preserve, and well, your southern acreage is the missing piece. She gave me a number, $1.6 million for my southern 400 acres, said it was way above market value, all expenses paid. You wouldn't even have to lift a finger. I chuckled. Ma'am, I don't care if you're offering me Fort Knox, this land's not for sale. One of the suits flips open a leather folder, starts rambling about access roads and topography surveys. I didn't ask you to do a damn thing on my land, I said, voice hard. And I sure as hell didn't invite you up here. Karen took another step closer like she was waiting to be led inside. I didn't budge. She finally realized this was no soft pitch. She tried one more time. Think about it, Mr. Drake. We'll follow up. I just smiled. Save yourself the gas. They left without another word, dust curling up behind them like a rattlesnake trail. I watched till that shiny SUV vanished, then went inside, unlocked my old gun cabinet, and pulled out the Remington, not to use it, just to remind myself and whoever might be watching that I knew exactly where my lines were. That afternoon, I put up a fresh sign at the southern gate, big as life, private property, no trespassing, not for sale. Underneath, in smaller print, the words my dad hammered in back in '72, what's mine stays mine. I figured that'd be the end of it. Boy, was I wrong. A couple weeks later, I'm out clearing mesquite, and I notice fresh tire tracks up from the back gate, not my truck, not my ranch hand. I follow them and find orange survey ribbons tied to cedar branches 20 feet onto my side of the fence. I cut every last one, tossed the bundle onto my workbench like a nest of dead rattlers. Next day, I'm out at the ridge with my thermos and drone, keeping an eye on the HOA border. I spot a bulldozer clearing a path from their new homes right up to where my old fence used to run, just 10 or 15 feet into my land. They were testing me, seeing if I'd bark or bite. Later that day, my drone caught workers drilling just past the line water testing, maybe. But here's the kicker, their HOA map didn't even show that land as theirs. That night, there's a knock at my door. My neighbor Rick looking jittery. Tom, you ought to know HOA saying your land's getting absorbed, that they're pushing to annex your parcel. Annexation. That's not even legal without my say-so. Rick says they're cozying up to the city council, making noise about you being non-compliant. I thanked him and shut the door, jaw clenched so hard it popped. Next morning I get a certified letter, thick paper, HOA letterhead. They're worried about noise disturbances. My legal shooting range, mind you, with permits and insurance. Said if I didn't join the HOA, they'd pursue jurisdictional reevaluation. I laughed out loud, arrogance like that. You gotta laugh or you'll bust a vessel. I called my lawyer, Travis McCaffrey. Tough guy mean as a scorpion in court. He reads the letter, says, they're baiting you. They want to paint you as a nuisance, get your land pulled into their zone. But so far they got nothing. Then comes the trespass. 2 days later, dawn barely broken, my phone pings perimeter alarm at the rear gate. I pull up the trail cam feed. Two figures in neon HOA vests, one with a laser rangefinder, the other snapping selfies with my pond. They open my locked gate, stroll in like it's a park. I sling the Remington walk up, slow. "Morning, gentlemen," I say, calm as iced tea. "You boys planning a picnic because you're 600 feet into private land?" "Mine." Clipboard. Guy tries to puff up. "We're with Willow Ridge HOA. Routine inspection. You were notified." I told him, "You got 10 seconds to close that gate." The other guy bolted so fast he nearly left his shoes. Clipboard guy sputters, "This is obstruction. You can't threaten." I rack the Remington barrel pointed skyward. "I'm not threatening, I'm reminding you whose dirt you're standing on." He left without another word. Sheriff Dan came out, watched the video, shook his head. "They'll say you threatened them. Let him try. You're on legal ground, but Karen's got pull." That night, Travis sent a press release to the local paper, "My property, my rules, any more funny business would meet legal fire." Next day, Willow Ridge's Facebook page lights up. "Gun-wielding landowner intimidates volunteers." I wasn't even surprised. I poured myself a whiskey and sat on the porch, cameras rolling. Then the HOA files a zoning request buried deep in land use proposals. They claim part of my land is historically utilized community access. Yeah, right. That old road. My dad shut it down in the 90s after it washed out. I dug through the barn, found the paperwork, county stamped contract dissolving the easement photos, a letter from the county engineer. Sent it all to Travis, who fired back a cease and desist for land encroachment and interference. 3 days later, a gray SUV parks at my southern fence. 4 clipboard warriors in polos get out looking like they're scouting for a strip mall. They didn't make it far. I'd just posted a new sign, "Trespassers will be shot. Survivors will be shot again." Texas joke, but those city folks scrambled so fast you'd think I'd fired a cannon. Later, Deputy Maynard dropped by, said the HOA complained my sign was a threat. I just showed him drone footage of them crossing my fence. Case closed. But then Travis calls Hill Ridge Developers' big real estate outfit, just announced a partnership with Willow Ridge Realty. And who owns Willow Ridge Realty? Karen Schilling. She stood to make hundreds of thousands if my land got rezoned. If I fought, she lost. That's what all this pressure was about. I sent all this to my friend Jules, who runs a local YouTube channel. Next thing, he's posted a video, "This man's ranch is under siege by a greedy HOA." Within a day, 200,000 views. Karen vanishes from Facebook. The county's watching now. That week, my mailbox exploded: subpoenas, complaints, HOA forms calling me a hostile landowner. Travis called it the shotgun paper strategy, drown him in noise. But I'm a Hurricane Alley kid. You stand firm, wait for the storm to blow itself out. Then I get an email from Brian Chester, a former HOA board member. He'd seen the video, couldn't stay quiet. We met up. He hands me a flash drive full of emails, contracts, internal memos. Karen funneled HOA money into her agency, signed developer agreements before zoning was even filed, told Hill Ridge my land was in negotiation. That was my smoking gun. Travis filed for a restraining order. Karen fought back with a land integrity committee to harass holdouts. But it blew up. Lacey, a local mom blogger, posted, "Is our HOA funding one woman's real estate empire?" with screenshots and video links. The board split. Karen's support crumbled. A week later, a black SUV idled at my gate. Didn't pull in, just watched. I stepped onto the porch, racked my Remington under the floodlight, and watched them drive off. Next morning, I found a typed letter. "Take the money before things get worse. Nice try." Same day, an ag inspector drops by, bogus complaint about my feed storage. And a HOA drone crashed in my pine. I hung that drone wing over my mantle like a trophy. Then came the real showdown: district court, open hearing, news vans out front. Inside, Travis laid out property records, easement contracts, drone footage. Then he dropped the bomb. Karen's contracts, internal emails proof she'd been chasing personal profit all along. Even an invoice for $75,000 paid to her agency months before she ever knocked on my door. The judge wasn't having it. Called Karen's actions predatory, barred her from any HOA office for 10 years, referred her for criminal fraud, awarded me damages, legal fees, the works. Karen slumped in her seat. Her controls snapped in two for all to see. Outside reporters mobbed the courthouse. I just slipped out the side, drove home slow, breathing free for the first time in months. A few days later, Karen's house went dark. Her SUV vanished. HOA's website got hacked, her face replaced by a cartoon vulture holding a for sale sign. Travis told me the judgment check cleared faster than he'd ever seen. Hillridge developers left a groveling voicemail dumped Karen canceled the project. HOA board members resigned, neighbors who used to steer clear now waved. Lacey brought banana bread, asked if her kids could walk the pond on condition they didn't try to name my cows again. 2 weeks later, a box showed up with a busted drone wing and a note. Thanks for keeping us grounded. I started getting calls, not legal advice, just folks wanting to know how to stand their ground. I told them, draw your lines and defend them. If you don't, someone will build a road straight through you. The land was finally quiet. I rebuilt my old corral by hand, painted a sign, the free range. Folks started dropping by, vets who lost land to eminent domain. A widow fined by her HOA for planting sunflowers. Students writing reports on the rancher who beat the system. I told them what my dad taught me: if you stand firm, the law has to bend around you. One college kid asked, how'd you stay calm? I said, because if they think they can take what's yours, it's only because you gave them the idea. And I don't give those kinds of ideas, ever. That evening, I watched the sun drop behind the ridge. Karen once called prime buildable slope bourbon in hand. New signs on my fences. Not for sale. Not for HOA. Not for cowards. Maybe they'll try again someday. Maybe someone new will roll up with a smile and a shiny brochure. But they'll remember my name and they'll think twice before opening my gate. So tell me, what would you do if it was your land, your family's name on the deed, your fence line? Would you stand your ground or let them chip away until nothing's left? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Share your stories. What's fair, what's just, and what's worth fighting for. And if you know anyone tangled up with a power-hungry HOA, share this story with them. Maybe it'll remind them too, some lines just aren't meant to be crossed.